Thank you for tuning in to the Black Money Tree Podcast, hosted by entrepreneur, investor, and philanthropist Jerome D. Love. We are committed to teaching you how to build wealth so that you can build your community. At the Black Money Tree, our goal is to empower wealth creation and create economic self-sufficiency in order to empower generations to come. Society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never enjoy. Season 1 is powered by Wells Fargo Bank. Welcome to the Black Money Tree Podcast.
Welcome to the Black Money Tree Podcast. My name is Jerome D. Love, and I'm your host, and I'm so excited about the Black Money Tree movement, where we're committed to helping you build wealth because we believe that's critically important to building the Black community. One of the tenets of the Black Money Tree is about, we talk about the tree and we break it down and we talk about the limbs and how it reaches out to help others. Well, a lot of the success that I've had has been because of mentors. It's people that have advised me and coached me along the way. So today I am so honored because we're going to have a man that's a legend in the Houston community and has always been there when I called. He's helped me with Black Expo. He's advised me on a number of things. And I'm going to let you guys just kind of sit in on one of the conversations that we typically have so you can kind of glean some of the knowledge that I've had the privilege of, and hopefully it will help you along your journey. So today we have Mr. Percy Crusoe. He is the owner of Frenchys Chicken. So if you're not in Houston, you may have heard of Frenchys Chicken. It's in a lot of the hip hop rap songs. But if you're in the Houston or the state of Texas, you've heard of Frenchys Chicken. And they're doing some amazing things. They've been in business for over 52 years. It was founded by his dad, and now he's at the helm, and they're doing some big things. Welcome to the Black Money Tree Podcast, Mr. Crusoe.
Oh, glad to be here, Jerome.
All right. So tell us a little bit about how it was growing up. I know, I assume you were a kid when your dad started Frenchies. So tell me a little bit about what you learned from your dad, seeing him build the company from the ground up. And how old were you?
Well, I was 19.
19, okay.
Yeah, so I was a little more than a kid.
Okay.
Actually, when he started it, I did not start in the business with him. I was going to TSU, and at night I parked cars downtown at Memorial Professional Building. So in '69, when my dad started, I did not start with him, but my cousin came from New Orleans. Her name is Novelle, and she's the one that actually started Frenchies, and she can tell you the date and the time, July the 3rd at 8 p.m., 1969.
Okay. So tell me this, okay? I didn't even know that. I assume you were a younger child, so we haven't talked about this. So growing up as a child, 5, 10, 12, what was your mom and dad, what were they doing, and what did he teach you about money and wealth?
Well, actually, Jerome, when you ask that question, it goes past my dad.
Okay.
So I grew up in New Orleans, and my grandfather was a dentist.
Okay.
And he also owned an insurance company called Pyramid Life Insurance.
Okay.
So I grew up, in that business, not in it, but around it. So, I understood that, businesses made money and businesses had problems and businesses had employees and, just all of that. So my dad, when we were growing up, he actually had an insurance company. He had a casualty and property insurance company.
Okay.
So that's how I grew up, but him being in business and then also my grandfather being in business.
So that entrepreneurship was, I guess, in your genes. You were exposed for entrepreneurship as a kid. So now I remember once we talked and you told me how you went to college.
Right.
And then you went off to work for Ford Motor Company.
That's
now,
correct.
So you didn't initially desire, I guess, to start out being in business. Why was it that what made you want to go to Ford, and then what brought you back?
Well, an interesting conversation with my dad. So I was working at Ford Motor Company, and he called me one day, and he asked me to come back and work in the family business. So at the end of the conversation, he said, "You will never own Ford Motor Company."
Wow.
So, he was right, and so it didn't take me long to turn in my resignation and come back to Houston.
So tell me this, why was it that you didn't go directly into the business? Was Ford Motor Company just offering so much more money, or was it that you wanted to create your own path? What was it that made you want to go that route?
All of the above. So
Okay.
at the time, Frenchies was, just starting.
Okay.
And it had only been in existence for 3 years. So those first 3 years were a struggle for my dad. The lines did not start the day he opened it.
Okay.
So, the business, struggled in the beginning. I can remember now, I was parking cars downtown, left, and then I did go to work for my dad. And I can remember, the day that we hit $1,000 in sales.
Wow.
We were jumping up and down.
Yeah.
So at the time, the business was not flourishing like it did in later years.
Okay. So what year was that $1,000? And what would that be?
Oh, let's see. That would have been maybe, I'm going to say 1971, something
71.
like that, 72, somewhere
So you
right
probably
there.
relate that to what, about $10,000, $15,000,
Yeah.
somewhere around
Yeah,
that?
exactly.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
that's interesting. That's
Yeah.
interesting. So you joined the family business. I remember you told me at one point, I can't remember what you said. You told me that there was a certain time when y'all started to flourish. There was a certain sandwich that you created, a po' boy, or something that your dad thought was going to work. It didn't work, and then you switched it and you exploded. Tell us a little about that.
What it is, so we also have a Frenchy sausage company. That's where we have our manufacturing plant. So my dad thought about a Creole sausage patty.
Okay.
And his idea was that he was going to produce this product, and he was going to sell it to hamburger stands, and that he was going to be the next McDonald's with that hamburger patty. And it was a seasoned patty, but it did not turn out that well. But now, some 40 years later, we are selling it and have started to make it again.
Now, there is an article I wrote for Black Enterprise magazine, and I called it, I can't remember the name, it was something about the dangers of diversification. And what I argued is that most people say you got to have multiple streams of income, you got to diversify, all this stuff. But when you're building a business, sometimes when you're trying to be the jack of all trades and the master of none, it can take away from your focus. And I remember, I still kind of have that itch where I'm in real estate, I'm doing the Black Expo, I'm writing books.
Don't scratch it.
But it's hard to jump out of that. But I remember there was one of your locations right next to the Reliance Stadium.
Yeah.
I believe you guys had some partners that had owned it and were looking at selling.
Yeah.
And I called you about possibly trying to acquire it.
Right.
And it never left my mind what you said to me when I called you. You remember what you told me?
I told you, Jerome, stay out of the restaurant business.
That's exactly what you said.
Yeah, and I tell a lot of people that, and people really desire to go into the restaurant business. Maybe they're a good cook. They have some, nice formulas or recipes. And, they just think that it's an easy business, but it is not an easy business at all. And I have had friends in the business that said that, in this restaurant business, we're making money, but it's not enough for the time and the effort that we have to put in it. So, you just need to understand that as long as that restaurant is open, you have some responsibility. And, employees don't show up. You have a lot of people working with cash. You know what happens when you work with cash. People, have a desire to share it with you. And so, there's just so many downfalls to being in the restaurant business. And so if you've never been in it before, I just normally tell people to stay out of it.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So going back, if you could go back, because that advice really it jarred me because you're so successful in it.
Yeah.
So I would have never thought you would have told me not to go in it. So going back, would you have done anything different? Would you have advised your dad to do anything different?
Well, first of all, my dad would not take my advice. There was no advising, but I can tell you that when he started the business and my mother found out about it, she was not happy.
Okay.
And the business struggled in the beginning. I mean, nobody coming. Here's a guy that is trying to introduce Houston to the New Orleans po' boy. Now, maybe I haven't told you this, but it started out as Frenchy's po' boy.
Yeah.
And that's all that was being sold. So
yeah, that was what you told me, the story you told me. Yeah.
You're riding down the street and you see this new restaurant, po' boy. So, it wasn't that attractive to people. So it really struggled starting out.
It's funny you said that. My wife is the most supportive, loving wife that there is. But when I told her I was ready to start investing in real estate, I think she reacted kind of like your mom did.
Yeah.
Because I'm always been the one, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I told her several things, and some were working well, some were just keeping us afloat. So I said, I'm going to take our savings. I'm going to buy some houses. I'm going to do this. And she was like, oh, okay, no problem. And then I went to the tax auction one day, and I bought my first house, $10,100.
Yeah.
And I came home so excited. I said, babe, I bought my first house.
Yeah.
And, and I showed it to her, and I was like, you want to go look at it? And there was this look that came over her face. And it was like, what, do I want to go look at some raggedy? So she couldn't see the vision early on, but now she's on board with both feet. As a matter of fact, whenever I start jumping out on some other ventures, why don't you just buy another house? So now she's all in on it. So no, that's good stuff. Now, back to the advice that you gave me when I asked you about purchasing and location. Now, what I really got from it was that if you're going to be in a business, you need to be all in.
That's right.
And that reminds me of some advice that my aunt gave me. My aunt was in the restaurant business. I don't know if I ever told you that. She moved to Florida. She was in Fort Lauderdale, had a string of McDonald's. She sold those, and I believe she went into Popeyes or Church's, one of the two. Yeah. Had several of those franchises, was riding high, sold those, and then she got with a partner and went into a produce business that she told me about. Okay. And she pretty much almost lost everything. She lost a lot. I don't know how much she lost, but she lost a lot. And when I talked to her about that situation early on, she was advising me on my business. She said, Jerome, don't never go into a business that you don't understand. Right. That was what she told me. Because she went into a business that I guess on paper was profitable, and she had a business partner that knew the business, but when that business partner flaked, I don't know the extent of what happened, now she was left holding the bag, and she lost substantially. So for me, that's what I heard in the comment that you gave me. You think this is cute, you think this is sexy, you want to tell everybody you own a Frenchie's chicken, but you don't know the level of work and requirement that it takes to manage this business successfully. Would you say that's accurate in terms of what I got from that? Is.
And, take the example of you buying your first house. Well, you started off very small. One house, $10,000, not a very large investment. And you learned what to do from there. So then when you did the second house, it was a little easier. And along the way, you started to understand some things. So, that's a good way to get started. But a restaurant, for example, the one that you talked to me about, the rent was $25,000 a month. So, to start off at, something that is that demanding on your cash and you don't know anything about it is tough. Now, if you were to start up a restaurant with $300 and learn what to do and do it yourself and develop and, gain knowledge, understanding, that's a little different. But, just to jump off into what you asked me about, $25,000 a month, you got to know what you're doing to pay for that. So that's kind of the point.
No, it was the right advice, because ultimately I wasn't looking at it as a business that I was ready to really jump in and run. Yeah. I was looking at it as an investment that I could put my money in and would run automatically because I had the people in place. Yeah. But the reality is, back to my aunt's statement, if the people fold, what happens? Yeah, I heard a story about Cam Newton interviewed the guy, I forgot, the club, the Gentlemen's Club in Atlanta. I can't remember, Magic City. And one of the things that he said was, he talked about before he started allowing other people to run his business, he said, I can do any aspect of this business. Right. He said, I can DJ if I want. I can bartend if I want. I can work the door. He said he learned every aspect of his business from the front end to the back. Right. And then once he learned it, then he turned it over to other people. Exactly. And I think that's critically important. Would you say that?
Oh, yeah, no two ways about it. And one of the things with us, we franchise, and we really want franchisees that work the business. So we're not looking for someone as an investor that just puts the money in and hires people and the business runs. So we want for people to actually know and understand the business.
Yeah. So, Mr. Crusoe, one of the things that I have found that has been so important to me building my business is having access to people like you. Let's go back to my real estate venture. That wasn't my first house that I told you about. That was my first profitable house.
Got it.
But I bought my first house when I was 23 years old.
Okay.
By the time I was 26, I had 8 units.
Okay.
And kind of like you said with the restaurant business where you're paying $25,000 a month, I was doing everything, leveraging these loans, 100% financing, wasn't putting any money down. Yeah. Really didn't have any strategy. So what tended on happening was when you hit a bump in the road, now you can't think straight because you got these mortgages to pay. You got a mortgage to pay at your own house. You got kids that want to eat. So then you kind of start doing certain cut rate things in terms of repairs. You put tenants in that you may feel like aren't all that qualified, but you're just hoping for the best to stop the bleeding, things of that nature. So I know exactly what you're saying. And for me, when I bought that first house that I did right, my cousin, who's one of my top mentors, advisors, he saw that I didn't recognize what I was doing. I've always been aggressive. And I remember I walked in the house, we opened the door, there were rats running around, the ceiling was open up, you could see the sky from it. Right. And I was like, oh my goodness, I wasted all of my money. Now, to buy a house for $10,000 is a pretty good deal, and to remodel it and get it up to where it needs to go would be $30,000, $40,000. So that's a great deal, but I couldn't see it. Yeah. He literally showed up every single day. He helped me work with the contractors. He made sure that they were doing what they were supposed to be doing, because if he wasn't there, they were going to get me because I didn't know what to tell them to do. And he taught me the business. Right. So for me, the most valuable assets I tell for many people that's in my life is my mentors and my coaches, because they are giving me some really good advice. Outside of your dad, who would you say were some of the people that have advised you, mentored you, taught you over the years that has helped you to be a success?
Well, some of the things would be trade organizations. Okay. And to attend seminars. Okay. On whatever it is that you're doing. If you're a member of a trade organization, they can be a resource. Southwest Meat Association for me early on, I was able to pick up the phone and ask them. But the other thing is that a lot of people say that your competitors, that you all can be competitors that are not friendly, or you can be friendly with your competitors. Yeah. So I always considered myself friendly to my competitors. Okay. And so I could pick up the phone and ask a question of a competitor, and we could sit down and talk about it. So people in the industry that are already there, and they're the most knowledgeable people because they have done it, they're doing it. So to look into the industry and just seek help there. Now, there also are people that are just wise about certain things, business, and they don't have to necessarily know the restaurant business or the food service, but they're just wise people, and they just understand how money flows and, what you need to do to be successful. So I always, have picked up the phone or, had meetings with people. As a matter of fact, just last week, a guy here in Houston that has been very, very successful in the food business, more importantly, the processing of food business that I'm in with Frenchy Sausage Company. So I called him and asked him to be on our board.
Yeah.
And this guy, golly, his family's been in, the business of food and meat since the turn of the century. So, I asked him. So he accepted. So, I'll be able to lean on him for good advice.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. That's powerful advice. Last thing I'll ask you is, and I know we've talked about this before, but I just wanted to be on the air, on the record. When I started Black Expo at the age of 24, I lived in Austin, Texas. I moved to Houston. Just like normal Jerome Love fashion, it wasn't no big thing. I'm going to do a Black Expo. I'm going to make it happen. I look back in hindsight and say, what was I thinking and how did I make it this far?
Right.
But had it not been for people like you that reached out, I guess, saw my energy, saw my passion, and supported, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And I remember you told me you had a conversation with, I don't remember if it was your mother or your sister, because I believe we had asked you for some money.
Correct.
And I guess maybe you wanted to say no, but tell the story about what your sister said.
Not necessarily no, but my sister said, well, if you don't support him, who is? You have to support him. And so, that, resonated with me. Yeah. And so, we stepped up in a, fairly big way and, to help. So she's the one that, really spoke to me in those terms and said, well, you have to help him. So, I feel that same way about a lot of things that go on in our community that, we just have to help. And we have been successful because of the community. And so, we have to give back. So, I'm always ready to support Black businesses, when I can, however that might be. And so, like I said, the money comes from this community that we enjoy and spend and have made our livelihood on. So we have to give back.
No, and I love that. I really appreciate it. Let me just say how much I thank you. Without that contribution, who knows where I would be? I wouldn't be here right now. Yeah. But that's really why we created the Black Money Tree podcast and wealth development system, because we believe that if we're going to build strong, sustainable Black communities, we need to have the resources to build and support our own communities.
Right.
So this past year, through COVID, we started a program called We All Eat. We were funded $10.6 million, and to date, we've given out about $8.5 million to restaurants in Fort Bend County.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Majority of them are Black.
Yeah.
We've given out probably close to about 50,000 scholarships over the years. We've given out close to about 50,000 business grants. My point in saying that is all of those folk that we've been able to help is a result of the seed that you sowed into us. So imagine if more of us were in a position when that young entrepreneur comes in that we could invest and they grow, and now they're going to, it's a snowball effect.
Exactly.
And it's our belief that the more entrepreneurs we help, the more people we help to build wealth, that it's going to help our community as a whole. So I thank you so much for your support. I'm forever indebted to you. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the people before you go out? I know I don't think you're on social media or anything. You want to give any handles? How can we contact you or anything you'd like to share?
Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not on social media. I have no idea. My daughter, Colleen, runs the social media for us. I guess we're on Facebook, Instagram, that kind of stuff. So she has us covered with all of that, Frenchies, and, our website, FrenchiesChicken.com, FrenchiesCreole.com.
So that brings up another question. Let's talk about generational wealth.
Yeah.
I follow your son. Your son's on social media.
Yeah, right.
So I see him posting a lot, and he shows the supply lines. I may be saying it wrong. He'll show the processing of the sausage and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Where we picking up some fish and this, that, and the other. So he clearly is involved in the business. Your daughter's involved in the business.
Yeah.
How has that transition been? Did they automatically gravitate and say, we want to work in a business?
Yeah.
Or they did? Okay.
My son did. From a child, my son has been interested in the business.
Okay.
And when he was probably 6 years old, my mother had to make him an apron for him to go to work. And so he understands the restaurant business. He understands the food processing business. And he loves it.
Okay.
It's exciting to him.
Yeah.
So he just came out with a new product that he did. And he served it Sunday at my house. We had some guests. And it's a crawfish egg roll.
Oh, wow.
His wife told me that when he tasted it after he had, formulated, he said, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be rich. So, it's that kind of energy that he puts in it and, creating things and doing things that, he can see that he's going to prosper from doing it. And, it's very exciting. So, for me, it's about me preserving things for him and for him to grow, much beyond anything that I have ever done.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is to put him in that position that, he can do, the sky's the limit. And I know that he will. And he's excited about it every day. So.
Man, that is so powerful.
Yeah.
That is so powerful.
Yeah.
I told the story in one of our earlier episodes. I tell my kids all the time, I'm not buying all these houses. I'm not dealing with all these contractors and doing everything I'm doing for myself. I'm building this for you.
Exactly.
And my daughter comes to me and she says, well, Daddy, if I move to New York and become a model and make $1 million, are you going to be mad at me if I don't go in the real estate business? Right. So it's clear in her mind, you trying to tell me I need to do this, but I can do it another way. Right, and I don't tell them they have to be in the business, but I just say, play the odds.
Exactly.
What's the chances of you going to New York and being $1 million model as opposed to making $1 million in a business that we've already established?
Yeah.
And I told her, I say, go to college, get you a skill set that I'm lacking that will help us to grow the business. You have a foundation here. Yeah. And I think that that's what's lacking in many respects in the black community. So, Mr. Cruz.
And I have a way of stating what you just said from my dad and what he did. All I have to do is just keep the balls in the air.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
I love it. I love it. Well, Mr. Crusoe, thank you so much for joining us on the Black Money Tree podcast. And there you have it, words of wisdom from a Houston legend. 52 years in business, Frenchies Chicken. How many locations do y'all have now?
10.
10 locations.
Yeah.
10 locations here in the Houston area. They're doing some big things, and our goal is to help you to build wealth. We have many other episodes just like Mr. Crusoe's. Go to our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe there. Follow us on Spotify. Wherever you get your podcast, you can find us and get a copy of the new book, Closing the Wealth Gap. It's filled with nuggets of wisdom on investing in real estate and building your finance. And we thank you so much for tuning in of this episode of the Black Money Tree podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Black Money Tree podcast. Don't forget to like and share this video. And if you want more content like this, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll see you next time.